Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who went to a concert last night. I went and saw Black Midi at Babeville in Buffalo. It was July 2nd, 2023, and I am going to get to a full song-by-song breakdown of the performance. I had a question going in: can music that technical be really felt? Like, would it just be a tech demonstration, or would it be a living performance? You probably know, spoiler, it was the latter. It was an amazing performance. It made me feel like I simultaneously wanted to twirl around like a deadhead, like smelling like onion pizza and just getting into the music, while at the same time, it made me want to mosh and slam dance and get a bloody nose from some dude with the ear spacers that he took out and they're all flopping around. But he still hit me in the nose and I'm still bleeding. You know what I'm saying? It made me feel both those things. It made me feel a lot. None of the technical proficiency, which I was afraid, because the music is it's impossible to imagine that somebody could play that well and be loose at the same time. You have to be a really top level musician to do that. And of course, they are. So it was an amazing show by such professional musicians. I was shocked by the joy that I felt watching. It wasn't just amazement. I was expecting amazement, but I was shocked by the joy, particularly the rhythmic joy, particularly in the jamming sections where they were interacting with each other. It was an astoundingly good performance. And if you just want that, I don't blame you. I'm going to be telling a story here. A long story that gets sort of solipsistic. I talk about myself. I talk about relationships and parasocial who's-he what's-its. So if you want to skip that, I don't blame you. Look down in the description. I don't edit the show, so I can't tell you how long this story is going to go. Look down in the description. I'll give you a time to where I skip right to discussing the Black Midi show. Also, I will slightly change the angle of the video so you can tell that I'm on to something else if you just want to scrub ahead, okay? We're all friends here. You just want the description, that's great. But here's the story. The story is going to be based on a different question. So the question of the music is, can music this technical be felt? The more philosophical question for me going into the show is it better to meet or be met? Is it better to meet somebody that you appreciate or be met by people who appreciate you? So it's a good question, right? What would you rather? Would you rather meet somebody that you appreciated, or have someone who appreciates what you do be amazed to meet you? I never thought I'd be in a position to ask that question, but I'm going to try to answer it by the end of this video. Now, I wasn't even sure if I could go to this show. It's not a persona, the whole family guy professor thing. I am a full-time professor. I am a chair of my department. I have a ton of work to do. I have 3 kids, including 1 baby, 1 kid going off to college. So, I've got a lot going on. We're planning a trip over the summer. My dad passed and we're clearing out his house, and I have to clear out my garage so that I can take in all the stuff from his place, and I'm the one who's orchestrating getting this. My life is crazy. It's super busy. And so I didn't know if I was going to be able to go. So 4 days ago, I managed to buy tickets because it's in Buffalo. When you live in Western New York, even though Rochester, New York is one of the greatest places in the world for new music, I mean not like the fancy art term new music, not like new music. Look it up, it's interesting. And even though it has one of the best orchestras in the world and music schools in the world, if you want rock and roll music, the kind of music I review on this channel, you're out of luck. And there's a great jazz festival, no one I'd review on this channel. So if anyone comes to Buffalo, that's basically the same thing. It's an hour and a half away, and I bought tickets. I bought 3 tickets, okay? Now, I wasn't sure if my kids would be able to go. They're busy. They're doing a lot of stuff. But I was frankly offended that the tickets only cost $25. But when I saw that the tickets were worth $25, I'm like, oh my God, this means that Black Midi is probably working with a company that isn't trying to screw me over, that isn't going to charge me $80 so that they can take $60 and give the band $5, and So even though I didn't know if I'd be able to use all 3 tickets, it seemed offensive that a band this good would be able to see them for such little money. I immediately saw after buying the 3 tickets that it's 16 plus. My daughter is 15, so already we're down to 2, but that's okay. And then I post on Instagram that I'm going to the show. I have a pretty good Instagram following over there, enough to impress my kids. I don't know what a good number is, but I'm surprised. Thank you for Instagramming, following me, whatever that's called. And I have to admit, okay, this is confession. Part of me was hoping, because listen, sometimes bands know who I am, sometimes they don't. according to my interview with Black Country New Road, they had watched my videos before I contacted them to do an interview. So I know they're friends of Black Midi. I thought maybe there's a chance that the guys from Black Midi and Black Country New Road had a conversation and were like, hey, that Professor Skye guy does some good reviews. Oh, that's cool. Because my review of Hellfire is really good. My review of Cavalcade is not that good. It's okay. But my review of Hellfire, I'm super proud of that one. And so I was sort of expecting maybe something would happen. And then also I was thinking, hey, I have never been spotted in public. Now, I'm not 50,000 subscribers in the scope of 8 billion people isn't that many. I'm still a relatively small YouTube channel. But if anybody is ever going to, if there is a place where I would see people who would care about me as a entertainer, it would be at a Black Midi show. So I was also kind of hoping people would say, oh, hey, see you there, because I've never been spotted in public, and I don't know what that's like. So then I get a comment from Sergio. So Sergio is the producer of Ants From Up There. And the thing is that, like, he says immediately that he can try to get me in touch with the guys. Now, you may be wondering, why am I somebody who, my Black Midi reviews have had over 50,000 views at this point. That's pretty good. Why wouldn't I just contact them or their publicists or whatever? I've just never. I don't believe it. I don't believe that I would ever have enough to offer anybody to ask them anything. The whole reason that I had all of that stuff with Black Country New Road is because Sergio reached out to me. He saw my videos, he liked how I talked about Black Country New Road, and he identified me as somebody who could help to both promote the album, but also really get to the bottom of what makes it such a great album, So all that whole interview, the thing that made my channel blow up, the thing that put me on the radar, that allowed, that had Fantano reach out to me so that I could do that video with Fantano, it was all because Sergio reached out to me. Hell, even when Fantano reached out to me, I ignored his message because I thought that there's no way the actual Fantano would be contacting me. Billy Woods, the great interview I just did, that's because his label contacted me. So I need to stop this. I need to put myself out there. I need to stop thinking that nobody would ever take me seriously just because this is a hobby I picked up in the lobby, It's fear of rejection. I'm afraid of being rejected. I'm afraid of meeting my heroes, all that stuff, So I never thought about it. So there we go. Sergio says he's going to reach out to the band. Super nice guy, and I'm not expecting anything because Sergio is their sound guy in Europe. But apparently he doesn't like traveling to America too much. Or he's not on this tour. I don't know. One or both of those things. So it's like, I don't know if you're probably not like me, but if you're like me, you overthink, I'm a very people-pleasing, nervous kind of guy. Despite the confidence I display when I talk about music. So I'm like, man, these guys, they don't care about me. I'm just going to be bugging them. I mean, I'm sure they love Sergio, but this is like a big ask, like just some rando in Buffalo. So I'm already all up in my head. And then the day of, I get a message. And the message is from Sergio. I wake up to this. The guys will put you on the guest list today with AAA, so you can meet them. Oh. AAA. Yeah, I know what that means, because I'm a music guy who knows everything. Instantly go onto Google, Backstage Pass AAA. I read this article that describes there's like 4 different layers of Backstage Passes. The lowest layer is the sticker. You put the sticker on, and you might get to meet the band or you might not. You might get let behind one rope, but you don't have total access. And then there's like a press pass, which gets you a little bit further. And then there's one other layer that's like maybe like VIP, which gets you a little bit further. But AAA, that means you're in. That means you have access all areas. So-called AAA access. I could not believe it. I'm just like, damn, yeah, AAA access. This is the coolest thing. I have all these ideas dancing around in my head, and I'm like, oh no, what about my son? So what am I going to do? Go there and just walk in and then leave my son just sitting there by himself? And then I get another message from Sergio, you are on the guest list +1. Now I'm like, wait a minute. Is the guest list the same thing as the AAA access? Did I just lose access but gain the ability to have my son? I don't want to ask questions. I don't want to because, like, these guys are doing me favors, So that's stupid. Learn from my mistakes. Don't be like this. you know? And this is the problem. It doesn't matter how realistic your brain is. Your heart is a romantic. Your heart can override your brain anytime it wants. So even though I know this is just a show in upstate New York and it's not going to be the way that I think it is, I cannot help but have images from popular culture in my head. Okay? Whoops. And when I'm saying images in culture about going backstage, I'm not saying Led Zeppelin with the Mud Shark in Seattle. I'm not saying Eddie Van Halen doing coke and eating green M&Ms. I'm picturing some comedies. I'm picturing me and my son being like Garth and Wayne from Wayne's World. I'm anticipating getting this lanyard and walking around and being this proud with this kind of access. Okay, so that's what I'm expecting, and I'm just picturing it's going to be just like that, And I talked to my son about it while we're driving there, and he's like, I'm not really picturing it like Wayne's World. I'm picturing it like Spinal Tap, So if you haven't seen the scene from Spinal Tap, this is what he's imagining. One of my favorite scenes from Spinal Tap. This is a scene of backstage with Nigel getting upset about the conditions. I was imagining being in this room.
Arrangements backstage.
What exactly?
Well, no, there's some problems here. I don't even know where to start. All right, this.
Sound check. What?
No. This. Look. There's a little problem with the. Look, this miniature bread. It's like I've been working with this now for about half an hour. And I can't figure out. Let's say I want a bite, right? You got this.
You'd like bigger bread?
Exactly. I don't understand how.
You could
It's like.
fold this, though.
Well, no, then it's half the size.
No, not the bread. No, you fold the meat.
Yeah, but then it breaks up, apart like
you
this.
put it on the bread like this, see?
But then if you keep folding it, it keeps breaking.
Why would you keep
and then
folding
you'll.
it?
Anyways, I'm just imagining myself there. I'm imagining myself in that place. I'm imagining, Jordy talking to his manager and talking about the sandwiches and folding them in half. And I can't help it. I know that this is not how it's going to be. I understand. My brain understands. You get me? I know it's stupid to expect some kind of big green room and people running around, but I can't help it. I'm expecting to go there and have Alice Cooper talk to me about Milwaukee. So it goes so far as to the fact that I actually calculate that the worst case scenario in my mind is that it's going to be like the band's going to show up like at the last minute. We'll just say, hey, we'll be hanging around in some room for VIPs, because I assume there's a room for VIPs, and I assume in that room there will be at the very least crackers, the very least some potato chips, crisps as they would call them. So we don't even eat before going. We eat like a half a bagel before leaving. And I just figure, there you go. But then the thing is, I'm an overthinker. And the reason I'm telling you all the stories is because I want you to put yourself in my position. If you're super kind of, I'm not shy, but I doubt myself a lot. Like, when do you show up? Like, when am I supposed to show up? Like, what? Like, is there? If I'm doing this thing and I've never experienced being backstage before, I don't know the reality. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's nothing. I don't know if there's something. And I know if I don't ask, if I don't put myself in a position to have the best things happen, then they won't happen. So I don't know when to get there. I ask Sergio, I just figure, well, it would be pretty interesting to share with you guys what it's like seeing a sound check. I mean, I've been a part of a sound check as a band back in high school, but it'd be cool to tell you what a sound check is like, I was thinking about the channel, right? This whole time I'm also thinking like, am I just going to meet these guys, or am I going to even have a chance to talk to them, maybe even make a little video, maybe even add something in here where you can see me talking to the guys. And spoiler, you're not going to see me talking to the guys. You can sort of imagine me talking to the guys and asking them questions about touring and all those sorts of things. Like, I don't know, because there's a chance that they know my work and they like it and they want to say hi. There's a chance that they're just going to do a favor for Sergio, and I don't know what. So the last communication I get before leaving for Buffalo is from Sergio. Let me ask the guys if they're okay with you going to soundcheck. No answer. No, I mean, now this is true. Neither my heart nor my head expected an answer. These guys are working musicians who just played Cleveland last night and are playing Montreal tomorrow. They're running all over the place. What are they going to do? Like worry about some rando dude? So no answer, no problem. So I decide to get to the show an hour and a half early, right? So, you still with me? You enjoying this? Is this interesting? Hey, I let you skip, so it's on you if you're still watching. So we get to the church. It's called Babeville, and it's in Buffalo. And it took me a shockingly long time to figure out why it's called Babeville. That's what it looks like on the outside. It's a church. It's very cool. I didn't realize till like halfway through the show, I put it together. Ani DeFranco is from Buffalo. The name of her record company, her independent record company, is Righteous Babe Records. Oh, it's her thing. And then I'm sitting there and I'm watching this great show and I'm having all these thoughts like, man, it sucks. Because I hated Ani DeFranco so much when she was like at her peak. Because I went to college in the 90s, and we went to college in the 90s. That meant that you had friends, if you were lucky, who were girls, and if you had friends who were girls, and you had friends who made you sit down and listen to Ani DeFranco, whether you liked it or not. And it was all misogynist, patriarchal reasons that I never gave Ani DeFranco a chance. Because in reality, she did the thing that Kurt Cobain pretended to do. She was independent and punk and rock star and fought patriarchy. She actually did the thing and had the independent label. And she didn't just wear a t-shirt that said corporate magazines still suck. She didn't use the corporate magazines. She's like a real Generation X hero. She absolutely deserves way more respect than I ever gave her. And here I am in her church, in her venue. Okay, I'm having all these kind of thoughts, you know? So I park right in front. And so I'm there with my son. He took a nap, woke him up. He had a long night the night before. And I'm like, all right. I'm smart. I see a guy with a badge. And he walks in. Hey, I'm going to follow the guy with the badge. Of course. That's what you do. You follow the guy with the badge. Go up, see a guy wearing Babeville staff. Now, in my memory, his name is Pete. I don't think that's his name. In my memory, he was wearing an Irish cap, smoking a cigarette, and wearing a kilt. I'm pretty sure the kilt is not true, but he was that kind of guy. If any guy would be wearing a kilt, maybe they were cargo shorts. Maybe they were aggressively pocketed cargo shorts. I don't know. But he's sitting there, arms folded. I see the arms folded. I think I'm a little bit screwed, but it doesn't really matter because I'm just going to go talk to the guy. I'm friendly. I'm open. I'm not entitled. I'm just like, hey, so if I'm on the list, I'm expecting him to be like, oh, you're on the list? If I'm on the list, where do I go? And he just goes, in line with them. And so there's a whole line out in front of the venue. I'm like, no. You misunderstood. I have AAA access. Now, I didn't say it like that. I said it confused. I was like, but a friend of the band said that I had backstage pass, so AAA access. Okay, I wasn't being cocky. In my mind, I was like, I have so-called AAA access, but no, it wasn't that. Okay, so after I said the AAA line, he might not have even known it. Like, this might be a venue where that term doesn't even mean anything. I don't know if he raised an eyebrow. I don't know if he took a cigarette out of his mouth, threw it on the ground, stomped it out, and said, okay there, Chuckles, get in line. But he might have said, okay there, Chuckles, get in line. Totally friendly guy. Totally friendly. I get in line. My dreams are over. Everything is over. I am waiting in line with everybody else. I send my son to go to the front to ask them if there's something. There's no one even at the front. Eventually the doors open. I'm sitting out there. It's about to rain. In my mind, I was supposed to be Wayne and Garth showing off the pass. I was supposed to be seeing the olives with no pimentos, but instead I'm in line like everybody else. I sent him down again. This time the doors open. So I go there and I'm like, should I take, because I have the tickets. I bought 3 tickets for the show. I say, hey, should I go? No. What do I do if I'm on the guest list? And they point me over to the booth. I'm like, booth, good. Booths are good. Okay, people with security and folded arms are bad. Booths are good. So I go over, excuse me, I should be on the guest list. Oh, okay, what's your name? I say my name. Angela? I don't know if her name is Angela. Angela, the woman from behind the booth, calls out, Angela? Angela comes over. I don't know if her name's Angela. They say that they're on the guest list. Yes, we were invited by the band. Which band? Oh, I'm sorry, Black Midi. Okay. Yeah, you're not on the list. Okay. So I'm not mad at Sergio. I'm not mad at the band. I'm not mad at Angela. I'm not mad at the person in the booth. I'm mad at myself because even though I tried to set my expectations thinking nothing's going to happen, I still thought something's going to happen. Last minute, who knows, moving parts, dudes in London, people in Buffalo, whole thing. But Angela, super nice. The people of Babeville, this is like the nicest venue. The people, the nicest people I've ever met at any venue ever. So she says, well, let me contact the band and see. So just wait here for a couple minutes. So there my son and I, just cooling our heels, sitting there, looking around. Someone shows up and is on the guest list and is given. And so I'm expecting to see the lanyard, the cool like backstage lanyard. No, she's had initials written on her fancy wristband. So the lanyard's totally gone. And after waiting for about 15 minutes, she's like, okay, you're on the list. You're free to go in. I was like, thank you. I appreciate it. AAA? Backstage, I was told that it would be a backstage pass kind of situation. And she says, well, I don't know anything about that. I know that you are on the guest list, so you're able to come in. But if a band member sees you and wants to take you back personally, then you can go backstage. Okay. Or you can speak with who runs the sound and works with the band. Jim, John, Jesse, Jehoshaphat, Julian, Jerry, Jack, Jim. I don't know the name. She said a name. I didn't pick it up. So I go in and I walk in and I'm just so crestfallen. So crestfallen, you know? Because all of this expectation, and I got 2 free tickets to a concert where I bought 3 tickets. And I'm thinking, how am I going to phrase whatever. I was never going to tell the story. I'm just going to let it go, whatever. Now, I walk in, I ask my son, what was the name? My son, he's the smart one. He goes, Jesse. Oh, wow. He paid attention. Nice. He just bought himself one less time of me telling him, get off your phone. So, right there, you know. How dad am I? Get off your phone. So I'm like, okay, whatever. At this point, I've given up. And I just sort of like get this sense that I'm just going to stand. So like when you're a dad, you don't want to be in the front. And if you haven't given up, you don't want to be sitting down either. So there's like a space for me. My favorite place in a show now is at the back of the front. So there's the front where everyone's trying to get as close as possible. There's the way back where people are just chilling and like extending themselves. I like to be in that little middle space in the back. So I'm just basically standing there with my son, kind of by myself. And then we see a dude behind the board with a ponytail. Now, I don't know a lot about people named Jesse, but I know that 80% of people who are named Jesse have a ponytail. So I'm like, I walk up, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to bug these people. These are working. They work. I don't want to be bugged by me, but I don't care. I go up, say, hey, are you Jesse? Yes, I am. Oh, yes. So Jesse, anyways, I'm friends with Sergio. Sergio told me to say that we're friends. I mean, like we haven't met in person, but we're friends. You know, we're as friends as we can be. Sergio told me to say we're friends. We're friends. Sergio and I are friends, and said that backstage, I don't want to bother you, but I understand it's totally crazy, but just if it is a possibility. And he goes, oh no, I'm not that Jesse. I'm a different Jesse. You're thinking of the Jesse who works with the band. I'm the Jesse who works at the venue. At this point, I'm like, how many Jessies are there? It's not that common of a name. But he's super nice, and he's like, what's your name, Skye? What's your message that Sergio told me I could meet the band? At this point, I understand the sandwiches are out, the lanyard's out, but my son, who idolizes the drummer of this band, who loves this band, if we could meet the band, that would be cool, you know? That'd be a cool father-son moment. That'd be a cool Professor Skye moment. So he says, listen, keep an eye back here when you see someone else back here that might be Jesse, and you talk to Jesse. Jesse, thank you, Jesse. I'll look out for Jesse. Jesse, I really appreciate it. I know you're working hard. I don't mean to cause you trouble. Okay. So then I go and I sit and I'm by myself. I mean, I'm not by myself yet. No, I am by myself. My son goes off to the bathroom, comes back. And then it happened. For the first time ever, I was met. I was met by somebody who appreciates the channel. I thought, because I didn't know how I was going to be doing this video, I thought I might edit all these things together. But here it is. This is me being met for the first time ever by someone named Corey at the show. Voila.
Ta-da! What's your name again? Corey. Corey recognized me in public. So there you go. Nothing's too happy.
Okay, so there I am, and I kind of had this cool moment. I kind of thought that would be it, you know? I kind of thought that would be it, and it was a very good feeling. It was very nice to be seen. It was very nice to be recognized for the work that I do. My son goes to get water after going to the bathroom. A second guy comes up and meets me. I didn't get his name. He had a black shirt. It was really funny. And then like a nice couple comes over, like a dude and a lady, and they come and say hello to me, and that they like my channel, and I'm just feeling great. I'm not feeling great because like my head's big, because like I'm like a superstar, but it's like, man, it's hard doing all this work, and you just don't know if people are reacting to it. You just don't know. You know, you just sort of throw it out there, and you get a couple likes, and you get a couple subscribers, but this was clear. People really appreciate it, you know? Some dude in a shoo shirt comes up, and, you know, he overheard someone talking to me, and it's like, oh, so that is you. That's very cool. And he reminded me, he thanked me for comparing Hellfire to Faulkner, which I had forgotten that I love that review, but I don't remember my reviews the second after I make them. So that was really cool that he reminded me the Faulkner thing. And so I've like met like all these people, and then someone else walks up to me, and I get ready and I shake his hand in the same way. But then I'm like, oh my God, this is Steve, a friend of mine who I haven't seen in like 7 years. And he's with his son. And his son, who I haven't seen since he was like 5 years old, now he's got like great like bushy hair. He's like a total Black Midi fan looking dude. Steve was a really good friend of mine when I was going through my divorce. He invited me to a games group. Just one of just the most decent, cool dudes that I know. He's actually an English teacher, so I like ran up to him later and was like, just so you know, if you want to understand, like I did a video comparing Faulkner to Black Midi. I know you're an English teacher. So he's like, oh, thank you. I don't get to teach Faulkner anymore. I'm like, oh, that sucks. I don't get to teach French anymore. So we're all in the same place, you know? And then, you know, my son comes back. Another guy comes up. He goes to RIT, wants to invite me to speak at the hip hop club. If you're watching, by the way, I still want to do that. I go and get Sprite. Sprite is the official Professor Skye drink at concerts. I always drink Sprite, only at concerts. That's my favorite drink there. 2 more guys come up, a guy in an Elmo shirt and his friend, and they had commented on my Instagram thing, and like I felt like I sort of gave them the hi-hat because I was getting Sprite, and they kind of walked away. I felt like they wanted to talk more. I would have talked more, but, you know, it just kind of moves on, and, you know, I don't know. Then we go and get merch, but they only had small. And, you know, I've given up on meeting the band. But it doesn't matter because meeting auditors, meeting people who appreciate my work, it turns out was really, really edifying. We then get to the opening band, Etran de L'aïr. I'll get to them in a second. At this point, someone in the balcony it seems like they're looking at me, and then they nudge their friend, and then that friend kind of looks down, and then kind of goes like that, and then they both wave, and like, they couldn't have been waving at me, right? They had to have like a friend who was there. So I didn't wave back. But if that was you, and if you were waving at me, what's up? But that was too weird. So Etran de L'aïr shows up, an amazing band. I'm going to do a video about them. It's not going to get any views because people don't care when I talk about music that's not in English, but I don't care. They are a Tuareg band from the Sahel, which is a desert in Africa. Just amazing guitar work, rhythm, and feel. It was just beautiful. It was actually kind of funny because even though this was a church, like the architecture of this Christian church in some... Sorry, Google password requested. Get rid of that. It kind of actually looks like sort of African or Arabic architecture, you know? It was funny the way that it was. You know, if you like Madou Mokhtar or Ali Farka Touré, Check out Etran de L'aïr. They were just great. They were wearing like the full headgear, and they started off very nervous playing, very kind of tight, and then they just got super joyful. The drummer was just having so much fun. It was like we were in this church on a Sunday, and it was a religious experience watching these guys. There's this great bit where this thing that they do where the drummer just plays these snare lines like and you think it's going to end, but that's actually like the drop that then leads into the best part of the jam. My son, who's a drummer, pointed out that the drummer has split lugs, which means his snare is very, very big. And they were just great. They didn't speak English at all, so they were like, "We are very happy. This is our first time in," and they very clearly didn't know where they were, and who could blame them? And they're like, "It's our first time here. We are very happy." And then they play, and it's just a great, great show. What I love about it is it's all like rhythm and resolution and precision guitar playing. And you wouldn't think that Tuareg music would match perfectly with the music of Black Midi, but it totally worked. It totally worked as a pairing because they really aren't that far away. Because you're moving and you're in this kind of rhythm, and you're in this guitar line, and it's like the interaction between the guitar playing very precise single notes, and the drums. So it's just great. So then at this point, I'm waiting to see Second Jesse. Where is the great Second Jesse? Will I ever meet the great Second Jesse? So, will I ever meet him? So I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm waiting to see another Jesse. Will I see another Jesse? Run into another auditor, another fan. He says, Mom, this is the guy from that video I showed you about Black Country New Road. It was awesome. I met someone's mom. That's when I told my wife about this whole experience. She was like, "Someone introduced you to their mom?" I'm like, "Yeah, they did. Some dude in an Idol shirt said hey. Some dude in a leopard skin bucket hat said hello." Which, hey man, you can pull off a leopard skin bucket hat. It's you and Jamiroquai. And then I got to go meet the band, and the not Black Midi. That's the mystery. Do I ever meet Black Midi? That's the question. Does Sergio's efforts ever pay off? Do I ever make it through a million Jessies? But I go and I meet Etran de L'aïr, and they speak French. Of course they do. They're from Niger, a former French colony. So here I am with my son, and they can't speak English, and I don't speak whatever Tuareg dialect they speak, but I can speak French. And my son is learning French. And oh, you don't believe I wasn't in heaven speaking French. The guy who was selling spoke English very well. He wasn't part of the band, but he had a very thick French accent. So I asked him if he spoke French, and we were speaking French together. He might have been Canadian, I don't know. Asks me if I'm French. I said, no, I'm a French professor. And then I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the band, and they're all happy to be speaking to someone they can understand for probably the first time in a couple days. I'm telling them how excellent their music is, and they sign the album, up there, and I, got my son to say a couple things in French, and it was just a great moment, great evidence of it is not enough to just simply speak English. So, time for the great angle change and the description of the Black Midi concert. This is my mug. You can get my mug down below. I don't do like promos, so I just promote myself. So you can buy my used shirt. Somebody bought my new order shirt. Okay, so that's Samir's fault, because Samir bought my new order shirt. So maybe someone will buy this shirt. I mean, hey, if you're a Black Midi fan, this is a one of one. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so there's the mug, and you can smash the like button and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And there's a thing you might not know. It's a thing I started doing. Every single time you include the letters AVAA, even if that's the whole comment. Awesome video as always. I will give your comment a heart. See if you can catch me. No one's caught me yet. I always leave a heart. Okay? So, the Black Midi show. It starts off with a boxing intro, and this sort of got me a little bit afraid of the audience. There's a thing where I think there's this perception that their audience can be more toxically masculine than other post-punk bands, that it's sort of a place to harbor kind of nerdy, angry boys and men. I don't think it's true. I think that's sort of a received idea that people want to be true. I mean, it's true to some extent. But when they start off with this boxing thing, I'm like, maybe. They refer to themselves as the hardest working band in show business. That's brave, because they're comparing themselves to James Brown. For me, they're saying themselves up to a super high mark, and they start right off with the song 953, with this but it's kind of like a shredded version. It's more like maybe, I think they played recently with King Gizzard. Maybe they're just inspired by the fact that King Gizzard can just go so hard with the shredding. I don't know. But bam, right away, the signs that said no mosh pitting, doesn't matter. Everyone's moshing. Geordie, lead singer, comes out, and he's doing this sort of like Mick Jagger pout while playing guitar and being like slinky, like he's sort of ironic and serious at the same time, which I think if you're like a lead singer dude, that's the only answer. I think if you're like only serious, then it's kind of like, all right. And if you're only ironic, it's like, come on. I think you have to find some kind of mix there. And this is just this is where it became clear how great of a show it was going to be, just right off the start. Really, it's the interaction between, for me, so there's three members and a bassist, right? So the bassist is, he tours with them. I don't know if he's an official member of the band now. As far as I know, he's not. I apologize. I don't know his name. Feel free to tell me in the comments and the other 8 bands that he's in, because this dude is an insane bassist who I will not be talking about very much in this show. But he's a very, very good bassist. Fits in with the band perfectly. But for the most part, what I hear is the interaction between Geordie, the lead singer and lead guitarist, basically, and Morgan, the drummer. Like, they have this way of interlocking what they're doing, this insanely complex stuff that interlocks, that is simultaneously like funky and heady, like you're thinking about it, like how are they doing this, but at the same time you're still moving. And this is where I realized that Morgan had a microphone, the drummer had a microphone, and so I'm like, oh, we're going to hear him sing? I didn't know he sang, but he didn't. He's using it as a monitor. He's like the leader of the band. He's calling the shots. Like, the more that I watched, the more that I realized when the song's about to end, he gets on the mic and says, hey, it's about to end. When they're going to make a transition, he gets on the mic and says, hey, it's a transition. As a former drummer, as the father of a drummer, word up to Black Midi for allowing a drummer to be the one calling the shots, because it's a rhythm band, Obviously it's not, but I really enjoyed that. The next song, Crondo Malasia Patella, I don't think I've ever pronounced that properly. This is where the guitar really comes through, because they're, again, I keep saying this over and over again, but it's very necessary. It's a feel song. It's these funky rhythms that, even though it's a technical, proficient, impressive piece, it's really great feel on this guitar. And the ability to sing and play these guitar lines at the same time is... I think you could learn how to do it after 10,000 hours of practice or whatever, but it's very clear that Geordie Grebe, the singer and one of the singers, but the front man of the group, realistically, he just has this ability. It's so automatic. And that's the whole thing. That's what my son said after the show. It's so automatic. Like, what they're doing is so automatic. And it's maddening because they're all under 30, so it's like, what the hell? How are they so good playing together? And it's just great. And also, hey, drummer, threw his drumstick up in the air and caught it. Thank you. Is it too much to ask for drummers to do a little stick twirl and stick throw? Come on, I get it. We're living in the post-sincerity age, and drummers aren't supposed to be that way. But drumming is awesome and fun, and you get sticks and you can throw them up, and that's what he did. Next song is Speedway. This is where he brings out a white on white Strat. Geordie brings out a Fender Stratocaster that's white on white, which is, to even own a white on white Stratocaster shows a level of confidence that most guitar players don't have, because that's Jimi Hendrix's guitar. You cannot play a white on white Strat without everybody looking, saying, that guy thinks he can play like Jimi Hendrix. It's like, I bought a pair of Air Jordans back in 96. Awesome ones with like little holograms on them. And I used to go play basketball with my friends all the time, out on the playground. But I wouldn't wear my Jordans. I wore my other sneakers, and it wasn't because I was afraid of them getting scuffed. It's because I didn't want, when other people would see us play or try to play against us, to say, hey, that guy has Jordans. Let's kick his ass, okay? So already, just having the white Strat is right there. The bass was pretty high at this point in the mix. It had a great feel. The whole place had a great feel and a great vibe. The bass seemed a little bit high. I don't know. One of the Jessies maybe should have done it. At a certain point, Cameron, who's singing here, Cameron picked on, starts like singing Buffalo, Buffalo, Buffalo over and over again, and New York over again. When he sings, he has like a real aggressive nerd vibe, and that sounds like a diss. I don't mean it in that way. It's actually like an early Devo vibe. So I don't know if you ever heard early concerts from Devo before they became famous, before Whip It, all that. Devo is, top 10 American band of all time. Easy. Probably top 5. They are so good. And if you listen to their early stuff from the mid to late 70s, it has this kind of vibe to it. This kind of like technical proficiency, but the way Cameron sings, he has this sort of dissociative style of lyrics and dissociative style of singing where everything is like weird and like out of place. And it's just great. And what I realized in preparing for this video, preparing for this concert, listening to their music over the last week, listening to it more carefully. First of all, Hellfire, this is their best album, and it is not close. But mainly it's just this album is Hellfire is so good. I hadn't revisited it too much in the last year. It's so good. But they did lose a little bit of this dissociative vibe, where you get the sense that they're like playing music and they're just out of their mind, and the lyrics that they're saying is out of their mind. And this is why they're the greatest. This is why this is one of the better shows I've ever seen in terms of a band in concert. Of course, I'm not fully capable of fully enjoying the show in the moment because I'm still thinking, what's up with Sergio? Am I on a list? If I'm on a list and I don't show up, and that makes Sergio look bad. But if I push through and I'm a pushy jerk, that makes Sergio look bad. I don't want to make Sergio look bad. I don't want to. So, mind you, the music is this good, and I'm still overthinking all this stuff, It's cool. All good. But the thing they're able to do is they play with rhythms in such a way where they often go into polyrhythms. I'm going to get into this later. But it's like a zone. And it's my favorite thing to do when I play music. When I play music with my kids, so, I'll play guitar, and my daughter will play maybe guitar or maybe bass, and my son will be playing drums. To just like get into a jam where you're playing something kind of repetitive, and it's a little bit off. It's like sort of like I'm doing one thing, like dan, da dan, dan, da dan, and like my son will be playing a rhythm that's not fully on beat with that. That'll be like gun dun dun ga dun dun gun gun ga dun 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 ga dun 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 ga, and then I'm doing that thing, that kind of bizarre interlocking. It creates a sense in your mind that you are dissociating from reality. And this is coming from someone who's never done hallucinogenic drugs, never will. I get the appeal because that's how I feel when I'm doing dan, dan, and my son's doing and we're keeping it together. That dissociative feeling that comes through in a song like this when he's singing it, even taking the word buffalo, 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 and repeating it till it loses all sense. This show helped me to unlock what a lot of people see in Black Midi, because I've always liked Black Midi, and with Hellfire I've loved Black Midi, but I haven't actually fully understood what it is that people get out of them, because the toxic masculine lie that that's what their band's about just got all up in my head. So it's just great. And they're goofing around, they're having fun. And then they play Welcome to Hell, one of my favorite Black Midi songs, realistically my favorite, but it was a single, so I have to pretend like it's not my favorite because it's not cool to like a single as your favorite song. But I don't care, screw you, it's my favorite song. And this is the question: can this exist without horns? Can a 4-piece make up for all that noise? Oh yeah, it can. And it was great because, I'm in the back, my son abandons me instantly to go into the pit. He wants to meet the band, but he really wants to be up close. He put himself on the barrier in front of Morgan, the drummer, so he can see this drummer who he admires so much actually drumming. Awesome. As a parent, there's very few things in life that are better than watching your children enjoy themselves. Truly. It's true. Like, going to Disney World is great as an adult and as a young adult and as a kid, it's great. But going to Disney World with your kid, forget it. That's the best. going to a great concert is great, but watching Welcome to Hell and seeing your son's floppy doppy hair jumping up and around and seeing him like get into it and worry a little bit that he's going to come back with a bloody nose because the guy with the spacers that are out that are all flopping around is going to hit him with it. But still, it's just great. And like they're almost like trading eights, the drummer and the guitarist. And then this is the point where I realized there's something a little bit funky going on in this show. Because Cameron is always tuning. He's always tuning his guitar, like sometimes during the song. And I realized like two things. One, they either need like a guitar tech, someone who's like has another guitar, or he needs one of those cool like shredder guitars. So like musicians who play like death metal and stuff like that, they have a special bridge which makes their guitar go out of tune less. It's super hardcore. It's very hard to tune, very hard to work with. I'm like, maybe they need that because he's just got this cool old style guitar. Anyways, then in between the next song, Geordie tunes his guitar. He refers to it as a wild beast. If it's not a beast, it's got no soul and you have to tame it. He's like talking about his guitar like it's a beast. Jordan and Cameron are just very funny at just both being just very weird, you know, and like that, like performatively and authentically weird. And it creates a nice atmosphere. Next song, Sugar / Zoo. I don't know how he's playing a riff so fast and singing, how he's so in sync with the drummer. I guess it's just through practice. And then there's like, again, like, can this song work without the keyboards and the other instruments? It absolutely can. The guitars are almost in tune. The problem is that I have bad eyes. I'm 45 years old, and so I can't type like I used to in my notes app. And so I type things in, and I don't know what they mean. So this is what I wrote. Morgan, Paka, and the drone Noras. So, I don't know. Next up is 27 Questions. Weird that's not the final song. I like that it's not the final song. If it was the final song, this would be like, hey, this is the Hellfire Tour, so we have to end the Hellfire Tour the way Hellfire ends with 27 Questions. It's right here in the middle. It's beautiful, and this is where Geordie really gives into the sort of musical theater aspect of his performance. He's like really being a musical guy. It sounds like my kids are awake upstairs. If you hear sounds, that's what's up. I'll tell them to go upstairs. You know, like the way he's singing has this real theatrical element. Next song is Dangerous Liaison. Very gentle drums, and just the way he plays. Because it's not just that he's a bruiser who can just smash through. He's also very delicate. Like this one, he's like... There's a trick the drummers do where they hit a cymbal and then they mute it with their hand. He does it just beautifully. And then we get to a song which was the absolute... At this point, my song-by-song analysis is going to fall apart because like the songs really start to blend together and they start playing songs which I don't know. Now, I'm not a Black Midi super fan, but I know their 3 albums pretty well. But this song, according to setlist.fm, was called Lumps. It's like a live song? I don't know where it comes from. It starts off weird with him saying, like, what does the radio say? And then it goes into, like, a bluesy jam. Like, truly a bluesy jam. Like, Geordie is playing blues the way a guy who's trying out a guitar at Guitar Center and wants to impress the dudes trying to sell him the guitar. Better than that. But still, like, he's, like, showing off. He's, like, having fun. It sounds like they're going to start playing Enter Sandman by Metallica. It's just this crazy jam. And this is where the best part of the whole show is this little section here. Not the very end, not the beginning, not the middle. Towards the middle of the end, because this is where they get the most jammy. It's got this jazzy and cool break. And then at a certain point, Morgan's string breaks. And this is so funny because he leaves. He puts his guitar down. He goes backstage. And he comes back with a string. And he strings up his guitar on stage. So, maybe there's not a lot of little sandwiches with little teeny tiny bread out back. Maybe. You know, like, I've never, like, they are the hardest working band because even bands smaller than Black Midi have some roadie who runs out with another guitar when this happens, you know? And my favorite moment of the show, the funniest moment of the show, is Geordie is playing, and then he notices the sound's a little different, and he turns around and he sees that Morgan's not there. And the side eye that he gave, you know, there's no photograph of this, so you're just gonna have to have me explain it to you. It wasn't disappointment, it wasn't anger. It wasn't frustration. It was just sort of like this flash of like, okay, I have to make up for this sound. Where did he go? What precisely is happening? How do I keep going? It was like this understanding of this weight that was now on him and the other couple of guys that were still on stage to make up for it. It was a very beautiful moment. It was, Spinal Tap-esque, because like, I mean, changing a string, it sucks. Changing guitar strings is not fun. I mean, he's probably good at it. But then that led to this great jam where it was without Cameron. And like they were just totally improvising and just trying to make up. And this is where the bass player makes it clear how great he is. And then they come back in and then there's the song where Cameron is singing. And then during this song, Geordie is tuning. So again, they just please get these guys a guitar tech. This ended up being, this is one of my favorite songs there by far. I love this song. It's funny because I prefer Geordie, but many of my favorite songs are Cameron songs. I don't know. It's a reminder of how great Hellfire is as an album, just this great guitar work. And like, I think this was the point where they started playing a 12-string guitar. And here I'm just like, come on, guys. You saw what happened with 6 strings. You're going to double the amount of strings. You're going to be tuning all night. It ended up not being a problem. They play Eat Men Eats. This is a whole like little section here with Cameron singing lead. And here he's playing guitar, but he's not playing with a pick. He's just playing with his hands. And this is, like with the back of his hands playing the strings. This is hard stuff. This is like you got to build up your calluses. You're going to end up having like weird like little bloody whatevers, if you don't do this a lot. And this is great because Cameron really showed off his skill at feel here, because all these guys have the skill of technical, but they had the steel, they have that skill as well. Dethroned starts off very weird with like, there's these bird sounds that you can make with a little squeaky thing, and Geordie starts like making that sound and like sort of screaming at the audience, this great bass riff. And then I think this is the point that was the best part of the show, because there's this like ascending riff and then there's this jam. And this is, like, they just get so out there. Like, I want a live recording so bad, but a good live recording. No offense. No, you know what? Please, feel free to send me links to good live recordings that is someone with their phone over there. By the way, who's recording with their phone in a mosh pit? Pick. I don't care which one. Pick. Either make me feel nostalgic for the good old days of going to a show where no one had phones and everyone was just mosh pitting, or remind me that the times have changed and people like recording shows on their phone. But you can't be moshing with a phone. I'm sorry. Professor Skye rules. Anyways, but I would love a very good recording just to hear how great these musicians are when they work together, getting into these moments. Slow, another Cameron song. This had this mosh pit highlight where they do this thing where they like slow down and they create a big circle and they start swaying back and forth, and then there's this basically just total screeching, just hell metal part, and then they go super nuts and everybody feels it. Everybody feels it, even if you're not in the pit. It's a great moment. Throughout that whole song, like Geordie and the bass player are sort of like pretending to shoot each other. They're having fun up on stage. Here's something that says on my notes app. I don't know what it means. How play all Tibet get? Geordie's doing a lot of his slinky pouty dancing, like stop and start with drums, just so loud and fun. The jam here, this is totally, again, I keep saying things that are highlights. This, I think, is the absolute highlight, because this is the most that they're going into polyrhythms. The bass player is just playing a couple of notes, and the drummer's doing something, and each guitar is doing something, and they somehow all fit together, and they somehow don't. And it totally works with what we had just seen with the opening act, and it was just absolutely awesome. Except at one point, the audience started clapping. Don't clap. Hey, Black Midi fans, I know you're excited. I know it's great, but don't clap. And it's not because audiences are bad at clapping, which they are. It's because you're prescribing the beat. And the whole thing about what you're watching that's so great is that the beat is hard to hold on to. So don't clap. Please don't clap, okay? It's so exciting. I know. Dance. I was dancing. Move your head. Try to find the beat when you're dancing. That's where the fun is, not clapping, because you're like, am I dancing to the bass player or the guitarist or the other guitarist or the drummer? Which way am I dancing? Where am I going? Awesome. great, almost like a little drum solo there. Just totally wonderful. Nice little respite, and then there's a piano. The bass player moves on to piano. They play John 50. Nice guitar line with the drums. The thing about Morgan's drumming is it's a 5-piece drum set. Get out of here. You gotta have like 50. Like, he plays so big. His style is so big, yet his drum set is just a normal drum set. And then they close on another song, which apparently isn't anywhere. It's called Magician. It's just gorgeous. It has a beautiful jam. It ends with him saying it's Mickey Mouse on guitar. I don't know if that's some statement about commercialism or America. I don't know what it is, but it's a beautiful ending song. I'm totally exhausted. Everything is totally wonderful. It's a completely great show. And now I'm right back into the drama. Am I going to get backstage? If you've skipped ahead, you can stop watching the video now. That's fine. You're going to get the resolution. Do I ever get backstage? Do I ever get backstage? Do I ever get to meet Black Midi? So, I figure we'll wait till everything empties out. There's another guy next to Jesse. I figure that's the other Jesse, you know? So, we're just waiting. And the whole crowd starts streaming out. And then this is just amazing. Like, all these people walk up to me. A guy who talks to me for a while says that he watches my videos while he works at the casino. I had a friend who worked at the casino in Niagara Falls. It's bleak, man. It's rough. That is a rough place to work. You are in contact with a lot of very difficult stages of humanity. I think it's the only good way to place it. So it was nice to know that I'm helping somebody in that space. He was with someone in a black shirt, and they were saying, hey, what's up? Some guy in a yellow shirt comes up and says, oh, I didn't know if that was you. That's great. Might have been named Ethan, might have not been. Some lady in a question mark shirt was like super psyched to meet me. That was really cool. You know, like seeing how excited like some people actually get to meet you is a weird and fun thing, you know? And I'm like there, and I'm interacting and having fun and trying to have conversations, because it turns out I like it. I like being met. And then I see Jesse's talking to someone else, and then I walk up. I'm like, hey, Jesse. So is this the other Jesse? No, this isn't the other Jesse. This is some other guy. That's Jesse. And he points to the stage. Some guy with pretty big hair. That's the best way to describe him. Not like goofy hair, not like hair metal hair, but just like, and a beard. So, you know, anyways, a noticeable guy. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And at this point, the security has already started creating little lines to push people out so they get away from the stage. They're not sitting around, give me a set list, you know, can I get backstage, you know? So Jesse, the man, Jesse 1, says, I'll take you there. So he takes me and my son, and we go past the Red Rover line of security guards who are standing there with their arms folded. And they're like, you can't, and then like, oh, they see Jesse. Oh, you're with Jesse? Oh, you guys are with Jesse? You might as well be with the President of the United States of America. You might as well be with the Queen of England. I guess there is no queen. King? Is there a king of England now? Man, that's lame. It was sort of cool they had a queen. At least it was like a female head of state. Anyways, you know, you might as well be with those guys. You know? And so we go up. And then Jesse is there, and Jesse's breaking down the set, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother him. And they're like, Jesse, this is the guy. And I was like, oh, hi, I'm Sergio's friend. I don't want to bother you. I could see you're busy. But he said we could maybe meet the guys, and I'm totally cool to just leave, but I just figured I'd ask in case it was possible. He's like, well, here's what's the deal. They're backstage. They're relaxing after the show. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe one of them will come out here, or maybe you can go and meet them on the side. Jesse 2. Jesse 2 is just as nice as Jesse 1. There's a lot of nice Jessies out there. So there we are. We are just sitting there, and we are waiting in backstage, you know. Oh, here's a picture of me meeting these guys, by the way, just in case you hadn't seen it. That's me, excited to speak French. This is what backstage looked like. So I had my son take this picture in 0.5, but that's the venue completely empty. And the feeling of power, so what I was expecting was being able to do this and that. That's nothing. That's nothing compared to the like 5 different security guys who see me and my son still standing there saying, hey, you guys got to get out. And we're like, oh no, and then Jesse up there is like, these guys are cool. And then Jesse over there is like, these guys are cool. Like, that was the feeling. Like, we're just sitting there all on our lonesome, solo dolo. So even though we're in front of the stage, we are like literally in front of the stage. we are actually in the back of the stage. You know what I'm saying? And so we're just sitting there and we're waiting. Maybe they had a rough show. Who knows? Maybe they just want to go home. I wouldn't blame them. And after like 10, 15 minutes, he says, well, one member is going to be able to come out. And I'm thinking, please be Morgan, please be Morgan, please be Morgan. Because it's for my son. It turns out that's what I want. Part of me wants the picture for Instagram with me with the band so I can do it and everyone goes, oh, epic collab, goats meet goats, all that stuff. I don't care. I mean, I do care. Well, I don't care. I talked to you for an hour about how I care. But it turns out that selfish desire for glory was way outstripped by the desire of my son to get to meet one of his musical heroes. And opens up the thing, and it's Morgan. So it's the drummer. He comes out, shakes hands, totally nice, just starts talking and chilling. Oh, you're friends with Sergio? Yeah, friends with Sergio. I do YouTube thing here, there, too. And immediately my son starts talking to him and totally monopolizes the conversation. They just start talking about drumming and music and life. And it's like the nicest guy. And I'm just so happy. And then sort of out from behind, out then comes Jordy, you know? And I've heard that he's kind of a shy guy. And that he can come across as standoffish, but just totally friendly, you know, like very much like, oh, so you're friends of Sergio, and we kind of laugh about Sergio a little bit, you know. It seems like they like to tease each other. It seems like that's one of Sergio's main things, is that he's a fun guy to tease and a fun guy to be around, while also being a great producer and great engineer and all that stuff. So, you know, we're kind of talking, and like, I'm so nervous that I think I might have been douchey with Jordy, which really bugs me. Like, I think I might have said like douchey things. Like, I think I mentioned, I said like, man, like they should have got you guys a guitar tech, but he said the guitar tech like was sick. So that kind of makes sense. But this is sort of the reminder that like bands, this is why I was happy to buy 3 tickets. Bands don't get enough money. They just don't, even for touring. There's a great video by Dev Lemons on her second channel, Dev Limes, about how rotten it is to tour. Even successful bands touring just don't get enough, you know? So it wouldn't be surprising to me if that's too much, because it's so hard to make money making music, even if you're a successful band. But anyways, I think it's going well. I'm talking to Jordy all about how I love the polyrhythms and seeing them play live. I didn't know how good they were. He seemed to indicate that he sort of knew that I did stuff with Black Country New Road, so he might have been sort of aware of who I was. And he was kind of like backing away, and I just took my shot and I said, hey, can I get a picture? So after all that, there I am with Jordy and Morgan of Black Midi. Now, Cameron didn't come out. That's fine. Maybe he's busy, maybe not. I saw him sneeze in the middle of the show. Maybe he was still changing his guitar string. I don't really care. This was way more than I could have ever expected. It was absolutely awesome. It was embarrassing as hell, because in my nervousness, I kept saying, oh, let's take a picture with Gordy. I kept saying Gordy, because the whole concert, I'm like, dude, if you meet him, don't call him Gordy. See, whenever I think of Gordie Howe, one of the greatest hockey players of all time, top 3 hockey players of all time, to be realistic. So when I see the name Gordy, I think Gordy. I don't think Jordy. So I call him Gordy a couple times. Here's this guy being all nice, being there for his man Sergio, and I'm here and I am misnaming him in the most embarrassing way. I catch myself. I'm like, I'm sorry, I keep using the American pronunciation or the Canadian pronunciation. It's not the American pronunciation. It's not the Canadian pronunciation. I'm just being, as the English would call, a knob. I'll go even further. I was being a knob shite. But what are you going to do? It was a long, cathartic adventure. And at this point, like, I had to like pull my son away from talking to the drummer, because they're just having such a great time talking about it. And I made sure my son told him, you know, my son plays a lot of drums. He practices a lot, obviously. That's why he's a good drummer. And he puts on headphones and he plays along with music. And he says whenever he wants to really try something really hard, he plays Black Midi songs. And so you're thinking, what Black Midi songs is he playing? And you're going through all these like shreddy da-da-da. He plays to the song Ductor, which is not the flashiest song, but rhythmically it's quite interesting. So he's talking to Morgan. He's like, I just love how you do. I don't know. I play drums, but I don't speak drums. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know the grammar. I know a little bit of how to get by in a cafe. And he's still talking about like some triplet or some kind of flange or ghost notes. I don't know what it is. And Morgan's just like, oh, that's great, mate. Well, that's not how he talks. I'm going to stop doing the British accent. And he says like, because, our audience is split, and sometimes all they want to do is mosh. And my son, who's sweating head to toe because he'd been moshing, is like, oh, well, I moshed a little bit. It's like, no shade on the moshers. No shade on the moshers. But, that there's some people who are like really there like just for the feeling and the aggression. And there's other people who are there just to appreciate the musicality and how much he appreciated somebody who understood his music at that level. So it was this great moment where at least my son had a great interaction. I was a little douchey and weird, but hey, what are you going to do? At the very least, my son and the drummer were able to really talk about like his craft and his musicianship. And I'm sure he gets a lot of credit, and I'm sure he gets a lot of love and a lot of respect. But it was really special to get to see that. So that's the drama of Black Midi and Buffalo, and Professor Skye. Sort of in conclusion, the question, is it better to meet or be met? It is better to be met. It is a better feeling to be appreciated and have someone walk up to you and be nervous meeting you and asking you, hello, and to shake your hand. But it's even better than all of that is having someone you care about meet somebody. So my son meeting Morgan was totally the highlight of the whole thing. Talking about drums, that's the whole thing. Because I'm a music fan and I'm a YouTuber, but I'm a dad above everything else. So that was a really special moment. So thank you to Black Midi. Thank you to Sergio. Thank you to my son. Thank you to all the Jessies in the worlds and the Angelas and Petes and whatever your names are. Thank you to Babeville. Thank you to Ani DeFranco. Thank you to all the people who came up and said hi. Some of you I probably forgot. If I did, tell me in the comments. Yeah, tell me in the comments if I forgot you. I tried to say everyone at least by a shirt or by name, but it's hard to know. Oh, speaking of appreciation, so these are the Patreons. They give me money to buy music. So I was able to buy the Agadez album. By the way, I think it's a moral imperative to support opening bands. I'm going to be starting, I might make a video about that. So these are my Patreons. Thank you so much. Until next time, enjoy live music, support opening bands, and there's the camera.